Once upon a time, there was a small town that had a legend of a shadowy figure that would appear to people at night. This entity became known as the Shadow Man. Many people in the town believed that the Shadow Man was just a myth, or a scary story parents would tell their children to keep them from wandering outside after dark. But there were a few people who had experienced terrifying encounters with the Shadow Man. One of those people was Sarah. She was walking home alone one night when she saw a dark figure lurking in the shadows. As she got closer, she realized that it was the Shadow Man. She tried to run away, but the Shadow Man seemed to follow her every move. Sarah was paralyzed with fear until she finally made it back to her house, and the Shadow Man vanished. Another person who had an encounter with the Shadow Man was John. He was driving home late at night when he saw a figure in the middle of the road. As he got closer, he realized that it was the Shadow Man and slammed on the brakes. But the Shadow Man vanished before he could hit him. John was left shaken and confused, wondering if what he saw was real or just his imagination. As more and more people in the town reported sightings of the Shadow Man, a group of paranormal investigators came to investigate. They set up cameras and other equipment around the town to capture any evidence of the supernatural entity. One night, while reviewing the footage, the investigators caught a glimpse of the Shadow Man. The footage showed a shadowy figure moving quickly through the town, leaving a trail of darkness in its wake. Despite the evidence, many people in the town still refused to believe in the existence of the Shadow Man, but those who had encountered him knew that he was real and that he was something to be feared. To this day, the legend of the Shadow Man still lives on in the town, and people continue to report sightings of the supernatural entity. And while some may dismiss it as just another urban legend, those who have encountered the Shadow Man know the truth. He is real, and he is a force to be reckoned with. As the sightings and encounters with the Shadow Man continued, the town became known as a place where supernatural entities roamed free. Some people moved away, while others remained and tried to find a way to defeat the Shadow Man. One day, a young woman named Emma decided to take matters into her own hands. She had grown up in the town and had heard stories about the Shadow Man her entire life. But unlike most people, Emma was not afraid of the entity. In fact, she was determined to find a way to stop it. Emma spent months researching the Shadow Man, reading every book and article she could find about supernatural entities. She discovered that the Shadow Man was a manifestation of negative energy, and that it fed off of people's fears and insecurities. Armed with this knowledge, Emma decided to face the Shadow Man head-on. She went out at night searching for the entity, and when she finally found it, she stood her ground. At first, the Shadow Man tried to scare Emma, but she refused to be intimidated. Instead, she focused on sending positive energy towards the entity, helping to counteract its negativity. To her surprise, it worked. The Shadow Man began to dissipate, slowly fading away until it was nothing but a faint shadow. Emma had succeeded in banishing the entity from the town. From that day on, the sightings of the Shadow Man stopped. The town returned to its normal, quiet state, and Emma became known as a hero for defeating the supernatural entity. Although some people still told stories about the Shadow Man, it was clear that the entity had been defeated. And while there were still other supernatural entities that roamed the town, people felt safer knowing that they had someone like Emma to protect them. Emma's victory over the Shadow Man didn't go unnoticed. Her bravery and determination inspired others in the town to confront their fears and work towards making their community a safer place. With Emma's guidance, a group of residents started a neighborhood watch program to keep an eye out for any unusual activity. They also organized community events and activities to promote positivity and unity in the town. As time went on, the town became known as a place of resilience and strength. A community that refused to be defined by its past. The stories about the Shadow Man became a thing of the past, replaced by tales of courage and hope. Years later, Emma became a renowned paranormal investigator, traveling the world to investigate supernatural phenomena. But she never forgot the town where she had grown up and where she had faced her greatest challenge. One day, she returned to the town, and as she walked through the familiar streets, she couldn't help but smile. The town had changed, but it still felt like home. As she stood in the town square, Emma looked up at the sky and felt a sense of peace wash over her. The town that had once been plagued by fear and uncertainty was now a place of hope and optimism. And as Emma walked away from the town, she knew that her victory over the Shadow Man had been more than just a personal triumph. It had been a turning point for the entire community, a symbol of their ability to overcome even the most terrifying of obstacles. Years passed, and the town continued to thrive. Emma's legacy lived on, as the people of the town remembered her as a hero who had helped them conquer their fears and restore their community. But as time went on, strange things began to happen again. People reported sightings of a new entity, one that was even more terrifying than the Shadow Man. Some whispered that it was the Shadow Man come back to seek revenge. But Emma knew better. She knew that there would always be supernatural entities in the world, and that it was up to people to stand up to them and refuse to be cowed by fear. Once again, Emma returned to the town, determined to help the people she had once saved. She organized a group of residents to investigate the new entity, and together they discovered that it was a manifestation of anger and hatred. Using the same techniques she had used to defeat the Shadow Man, Emma and her team worked to send positive energy towards the entity, helping to neutralize its negative power. And once again it worked. The entity dissipated, leaving the town in peace once more. This time, however, the town was better prepared. They knew that there would always be supernatural threats, but they were no longer afraid. They had Emma to guide them and the knowledge that they could overcome any challenge. As she prepared to leave the town once again, Emma felt a sense of pride and satisfaction. She had not only defeated the Shadow Man, but she had helped to create a community that was stronger and more resilient than ever before. And as she walked away, Emma knew that she would always remember the town and the people who had shown her the true meaning of courage and strength. Years turned into decades, and Emma grew older. But she never forgot the lessons she had learned in that small town. She continued to travel the world, investigating paranormal phenomena and sharing her knowledge with others. But no matter where she went, Emma always carried a piece of that town with her. It had been the place where she had discovered her own strength and the power of human resilience, and she knew that she would always be grateful for that experience. As the years passed, the town continued to thrive. It had become a hub for supernatural research and exploration, drawing in experts from all over the world. But despite its newfound fame, the town never forgot its roots, and it remained a tight-knit community that looked out for one another. Emma was invited back to the town on several occasions, and each time she was greeted as a hero. She watched with pride as new generations of residents faced their own challenges, and she knew that the town would always be a place of strength and hope. And as Emma looked back on her life, she knew that her greatest accomplishment had been not just defeating the Shadow Man, but helping to create a community that refused to be defined by fear. For Emma, that was the true legacy of her encounter with the supernatural, and it was one that she would carry with her always. As Emma approached the end of her life, she knew that it was time to pass on her knowledge and experience to the next generation. She had seen firsthand the power of community and the importance of facing fear head-on, and she was determined to share those lessons with others. Emma established a foundation in her name, dedicated to promoting research and education in the field of the paranormal. The foundation funded projects all over the world, providing resources and support to those who sought to understand the unknown. But Emma's legacy extended far beyond the foundation. Her story had inspired countless others to face their own fears and embrace the power of resilience. And as she looked back on her life, Emma knew that she had made a difference in the world, even if it had been in a small town in the middle of nowhere. Emma passed away peacefully in her sleep, surrounded by loved ones. But her legacy lived on, not just in the town that had once been plagued by the Shadow Man, but in the hearts of all those who had been inspired by her story. And as people continued to look up at the night skies, searching for answers to the mysteries of the universe, they knew that Emma's spirit was still with them, guiding them towards the light, and reminding them that no matter how dark the world may seem, there is always hope.